IPO is a pure fuel distribution play debuting at the Philippine Stock Exchange next month. It also happens to be the first company in Cebu to list in 10 years. Let's get to know TopLine Business Development Corp and speak with its chairman, president, and CEO, Eugene Erik Laparasan Lim. Maayong buntag, Eric. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, maayong buntag, Kathy. Well, it's a pleasure being here. Thank you for inviting me.
I thought I'd be speaking to you from Cebu via Zoom, but you're here and it's 11 days to listing. So how are preparations coming along?
So far, so good. We're quite happy with the take-up with the books and everything. So we're excited.
But you cut the offer price, the final price. Why so?
Well, I think it's more of the efficient deployment of capital. So when we started the roadshow process and the book building, and then we actually got the books are the take-up is really good. So what we're doing right now is we're just getting that sweet spot from our investors or shareholders. And in fact, if you look at the updated IPO proceeds, it's still there. The strategic initiatives are still there. So if you look at the listing, the story of the listing is basically more of importation, integration, and expansion. So the IPO proceeds, if you look at the breakdown, about 48% is still the expansion, which is the light fuels expansion, about 20 stations. And then the integration part is about 28% to basically buy an oil tanker ship to help with the integration of our different supply chains.
So we're talking about the full ecosystem here of being a pure fuel distribution company.
Exactly.
But you've got competition. And when I looked at how the competition's done, the listed fuel players in the market, they're hovering at lows because it's really been so difficult to make money in this industry and include to that really managing the efficiencies.
Well, it really depends on which segment of the market you're into. So let's say, for example, in Central Visayas, we're in that economic sweet spot in terms of GDP growth. So in Central Visayas, we've basically outpaced the national average for several years. So right now, we're just making sure that we're focusing on that Central Visayas market. And well, since for TopLine, we're targeting a niche market. So let's say, for example, about 68% of registered motors are motorcycle drivers. No? So what we're looking right now is focusing on that niche market in our expansion plans for the retail.
Are you going to be buying any service stations or depots before the listing?
We are, well, there's always an opportunity, well, basically in terms of game plan. No? So there's, well, probably acquisition would be in play or possibly certain discussions for partnership. It depends. So it would really depend. But as of now, we're just focused on the listings.
So you are having ongoing discussions now between now and listing date on April 8th?
I think if you're, if you're in the industry, you may or may not have a lot of discussions. But since the industry is not very big, especially in Central Visayas, you got to tend to talk to different parties that's also interested for possible acquisition. So it really depends.
Okay, but what really is certain is that you're going to be using the proceeds to buy some service stations and build service stations and depots and also purchase the fuel tanker.
Yes.
So how is that going to then play into profitability?
Well, if you look at the proceeds, it's more of expansion for the service station. It's not the acquisition. So this is more of the expansion for the service station. So right now for light fuels, so if you look at the business model for TopLine, so there's industrial fuel trade, which is commercial trade, which is basically B2B business. That's about 97.9% of our revenue. And then the other side is retail, which is light fuels. That's about 2.1% of our revenue. So now, as of this month, we'll be opening additional 2 more, which makes us 4 service stations. And then by the end of Q2 this year, we're looking at 10 stations. And then if you add the proceeds of the IPO, which is an additional 20 service stations, which gives us about 30 stations, hopefully soon.
And location would be critical, I presume, because we're talking about motorists, wanting to fuel up as they take those rides along Central Visayas. Which areas?
It's going to be more focused on Central Visayas because, again, as what we've mentioned before, in terms of GDP growth, we're in that sweet spot, and
some specific locations, perhaps.
So, of course, in Cebu, Metro Cebu in particular, and then northern part, southern part, and then other parts of Central Visayas. Since, of course, Bohol is also in Central Visayas, so there are a lot of really good areas right now that we're looking at.
And margins, what sort of margins are we playing on, given the competition in the industry and that it is quite difficult to make some money when you're a pure fuel distribution play?
Well, that's why, as what you mentioned earlier, Kathy, fuel is fuel, right? So what's the value proposition for TopLine to our customers and investors? So what we want to do is to basically give a new dimension of service to our stations, giving additional service in terms of really, really high kind of service, and at the same time, setting us apart in terms of other kinds of service pretty soon. So we're slowly innovating certain services soon, and we're quite excited to show that in the next few months.
You're excited, but the markets are fearful of what's going on. The volatility that we've seen, the PSE is still down 3% year to date. Why now?
Well, at the end of the day, we can only speculate right now for the market. But for us in TopLine, we're just quite happy with our track record for the past several years. So we've been, example for our CAGR, we've been growing for about 53% for the past several years. And in terms of revenue growth, we've grown from 2024 compared to 2023 about 12% of growth. Volume growth is 19%. Our net income is about 157% increase. So we're quite happy with our track record. And at the same time, when we have our company meetings, Kathy, it's just funny because we always tell everyone, like, guys, when we huddle up, guys, again, there's no perfect situation, but only a perfect mindset.
Right, and you're taking that dive on April 8th, and the offer period begins on Monday, March 24th, and ends March 31st.
31.
I wish you all the best. Eric, thank you so much. I'll watch you on the monitor when you list at the stock exchange.
Thank you so much.
Daghang salamat. Erik Lim of TopLine joining us here live in the studio.